In this video, you're gonna learn 3 simple swaps you can make with your diet in order to lose 15 pounds in less than 21 days without having to count calories. Very easy to do, and it's gonna bring down inflammation to help your body burn fat. How much fat? Rapid fat loss. It's important for you to understand before I give you these 3 exchanges why people are not getting the weight loss results they want. When it comes to health, if you wanna get well, you have to fix the cell. You have to get healthy at the cellular level. So I'm about to give you just a brief little science class right here, and it's gonna make a lot of sense. When I give you these exchanges, you're gonna know why I'm doing it. We're made up of 70 trillion cells. Every cell has around it something called a cell membrane, a lipid bilayer, which by the way, it's made up of protein, saturated fat, and cholesterol. That's why our body loves fat, loves the keto diet, the right fats, of course. In your cells, you have your DNA. These are the genes you were born with. You can't change your genes, but you have control over the expression of these genes. It's called epigenetics. You also have something in your cells called mitochondria. These are the energy power plants of your cell. They produce ATP, which stands for adenosine triphosphate. It's the gasoline of the cell. It gives you life. We want a lot of cellular energy because that means you're gonna burn fat, live a long life. Every cell has these, think of them as like cell phone antenna sites. They're cell receptor sites, but think of them as cell phone antenna signals. We're gonna relate this to fat burning. So your fat burning hormones, let's say thyroid, T3, let's put T for testosterone, and let's put HGH for human growth hormone. There's a few others, but we'll stick with that for right now. Your hormones, which are the language of the human body, they are sending signals to your cells in order for your cells to produce the job, to burn fat, to feel good. So it's sending the signals, and when the cell is working healthy, the cell receptor sites pick up the signals, and then it goes into the cell, and the cell does what it's designed to do, which is to burn fat, take food, use it for energy and fuel, produce energy, and then remove any toxins that are produced in the cell. Because your cells produce energy, just like I were to burn fire here, and it creates a little bit of some smoke. Your cells do the same thing. So a healthy cell could remove that toxic smoke, and it's just a well-oiled machine. Here's why so many people are overweight or have symptoms. And the list of symptoms, I mean, go on and on, but first let's get to this real quick. When there is inflammation around your cells, so cellular inflammation, that's when dysfunction starts to occur. And when I say cellular inflammation, I am not talking about a sore shoulder or a sprained ankle or something like that. I'm talking about inflammation around your cells. When there's inflammation around your cells, your fat burning hormones, they are still sending signals to your cells, but that message is not being heard because they're blocked because of the inflammation. They're blunted. And it's like you screaming at me. I have my fingers in my ears. I can't hear you. I'm just not getting the signal. And then these symptoms start to occur. So the one symptom I'm going to focus on in this video is weight gain. So weight gain, being overweight, is a symptom. It's not the problem. Counting calories is over here. Focusing on macros, exercising more, eating less, that's over here on the symptom side. But can you see that's far removed from the cause? The cause is inflammation. So nobody has a weight problem. When I was obese for most of my life, I did not have a weight problem. I had a weight symptom. Very important to understand. Symptom, cause. Effect, cause. Cause, effect. There's always an effect for every cause. You see, intellectuals want to solve problems. Geniuses like you and I, we want to prevent them. So when we get to the cause, the effect automatically takes care of itself. When you get healthy, a side effect is you lose the weight. So this video is designed, these 3 exchanges that I'm about to share with you are designed to bring down inflammation so you can lose weight effortlessly. This goes away rapidly, and you can lose 15 pounds in the next 21 days if you go all in with this. So you ready? Let's move on to the first exchange. The first exchange is to remove the wheat products, the grains, the cereal grains from your diet right now. Remove that and replace it with something that's gonna be much better for your body. So here's what I want you to do. Do an audit on what you're eating right now. And if you're having any wheat products, it's important to get rid of them because wheat causes a lot of inflammation. It causes blood sugar spikes. And when you cause a spike in your blood sugar, insulin has to go with it. And when you call insulin, insulin is a fat storage hormone. It tells your body to store food. It is the bully on the block. When insulin is out, all the fat burning hormones, they go bye-bye. So that's what wheat is doing to you. In fact, 2 slices of wheat bread has been shown to spike blood sugar as much as a 12-ounce can of soda. All right, so wheat is not healthy. Ezekiel bread might be a little bit better. These sprouted grain breads might be a little bit better, but I recommend you just not consume those as well, because that's still gonna spike blood sugar, at least for 21 days until you bring down inflammation and let your fat burning hormones get into the cells. So we wanna remove all wheat products, millet, rice, oats, that includes oatmeal, barley, corn, and rye. If you are eating any of these for 21 days, say no, you're not entering my body. We want to instead replace them with these foods that are going to help your body keep insulin low, reduce inflammation, you're going to have better energy levels, and a side effect is you will lose the weight. Cauliflower rice is a great keto approved rice. Wild rice, so if you see the star, it means I want you to have this in limited amounts. Quinoa, if you could soak your quinoa and your rice, even better to break down some of the phytates, some of the anti-nutrients. Buckwheat, technically that doesn't have wheat gluten in it. Cabbage rice, squash rice. Let's move on to the second exchange you're gonna make here. This one is huge. It's probably the biggest one on this list. You've seen me, if you've seen my videos, talk about vegetable oils and how toxic they are to the body at a cellular level. I drew the cell, I drew the inflammation. Well, this causes the most amount of inflammation around your cells. So even if you're doing a keto diet, if it has vegetable oils, it's a dirty keto diet. And I'm gonna go over the list of vegetable oils to get rid of, but here's a study that showed 5 minutes of pleasure, meaning a plate of French fries that were fried in canola oil, and you ate it in about 5 minutes, resulted in 5 months of cellular inflammation, cellular dysfunction. Vegetable oils are bad news. So here are the top 6 I want you to avoid at all costs. Canola oil, cottonseed oil, sunflower oil, soybean oil, grapeseed oil, and peanut oil. Toxic. Definitely do an audit on your groceries. If you're eating out, a lot of restaurants cook with it, so you gotta ask the waiter or waitress, what oil do you cook with? Maybe for these 21 days you eat at home and you make sure you know what's going into your body. If you want more information on how toxic vegetable oils are, AKA liquid death, read the book Deep Nutrition by Dr. Kate Shanahan. She has amazing work out there, and she'll be on the Keto Camp podcast hopefully sometime soon. So let's remove those and let's switch it with these healthy oils. Extra virgin olive oil. This is my favorite overall oil, even to cook with, even for sauteing and dips and salad dressings. Extra virgin olive oil. But here's the deal. Most olive oil that you find at the grocery store is rancid. It's crap. Even before you even put it on your food, it's already gone rancid. And how do you know if it's good or bad? Here's an easy test for you to do. Take a tablespoon of the olive oil you have and just consume it. If it burns your tongue, makes your throat a little fuzzy, a little warm, then that means it's a good, rich, polyphenol-rich olive oil. But if it goes down smooth, chances are it's rancid, it's not one of the good brands, and most of the stuff out there, it's crap. So what I do is I recommend, I am part of the Fresh Pressed Olive Oil Club. If you want to get amazing, the world's best olive oil that are hand-picked from Chile and different parts of the world, get this club. You could get your first bottle and try it out for $1. Go to www.ketocampoliveoil.com to get your bottle. I love olive oil, so I definitely would include that into the mix. Coconut oil, unrefined organic coconut oil, awesome. Avocado oil, I love avocado oil. Grass-fed butter, grass-fed ghee. You could always use that to cook, put it in your coffee and your tea. I love it. Grass-fed butter, grass-fed ghee, and also MCT oil. That's great for your coffee and your tea as well. Just go, if you're gonna start with MCT oil, go very low and slow. If you do too much too soon, it'll send you to the bathroom with disaster pants. Third exchange, this one might be obvious, but there's some tricky sugars that you might think are healthy and they're actually causing inflammation around your cells. By the way, I'd much rather you have, if you're gonna take only one action from these exchanges, it's the vegetable oils, but if you do all 3, you're going to get the results you want. You wanna replace all these on the left with the items on the right. So raw sugar, yes, I don't care if it's raw cane or organic, it's still raising glucose, it's still creating inflammation, it's still causing you to gain weight. Processed sugar, obviously, evaporated cane juice, avoid it. Agave syrup, agave nectar, that stuff is still spiking glucose and insulin. That stuff is causing your liver to store fat and it's preventing you from getting the results you want. So avoid that. And then these are sugar substitutes that you commonly see in like diet sodas or sugar-free meals, sugar-free foods. Splenda and aspartame avoid that. It's creating dysfunction in your gut. That actually could destroy up to 50% of your beneficial gut bacteria. Not good. Instead, let's add in these. I love pure stevia as an alternative, monk fruit as an alternative, chicory root, which bulletproof, they put it in their bars, inulin. Just be cautious with this here. If you're consuming this and you have something called SIBO, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, it could create a problem. So if you're starting to really bloat after taking any of these two actually, you might want to switch it up with something else. Erythritol is a sugar alcohol. So these are fine. These are not good. And that's how you do it. You make these exchanges, your body's gonna bring down inflammation automatically. And you're gonna start noticing not just weight loss, because weight loss I don't think should be the main factor here. You're gonna notice better energy levels, better sleep, better skin, more confidence, your clothes are gonna fit better, you're gonna lose body fat, you're gonna lose inches, and yes, you'll lose weight. You'll lose up to 15 pounds in the next 21 days if you go all in with this. I'm gonna share with you a 7-day protocol for you to lose a pound of fat every day, and you would repeat this 7-day protocol each week until you get to your desired body weight. And the best part about this protocol, no, you don't have to suffer. No, you don't even have to count a single calorie. And no, you don't have to rely on willpower. In fact, this will be quite easy. The first step is to have an optimal eating window and then an optimal fasting window. And I get it, before we get into intermittent fasting a little bit, and look, I understand, if you have never practiced fasting before or time-restricted feeding, it may sound like I'm asking you to hold your breath for 10 minutes, but I guarantee the way I'm gonna lay it out for you, it's so easy to follow. You actually will feel more energized, you'll feel great, you're not gonna feel hungry and hangry. Just follow the routine that I'm gonna lay out for you in a second. The way that this works is as such. You have hundreds of hormones inside of your body. Hormones are like chemical messengers. They're sending signals to your cells, and your cells have these receptor sites that hear the message and then produce the job. For example, we have some hormones that help with lowering inflammation. We have some hormones that help with energy production. That's going to be hormones T3, the thyroid hormone. We have some hormones that actually help with fat burning. There are about 8 of them. But here's the thing. There's only one hormone that signals to your body, store fat, store energy. And you've heard of this hormone, it's called insulin. Insulin is an energy sensor, and insulin is not the bad guy, it just has a bad PR team. Insulin is very important. We arguably wouldn't exist today as human beings if our ancestors did not have the ability to produce insulin and store fat. But if your goal is to lose body fat, which is why you're watching this video, insulin, or I should say controlling insulin, that's the name of the game. You see, insulin is the bully of the block. When you call this guy the insulin troops, your fat-burning hormones are gone. They're running away. They cannot coexist. Either you're activating your fat-burning hormones or you're activating your fat storage hormone, insulin. So you might be wondering, how do I lower insulin? Great question. I'm glad you thought of that. Fasting is probably the best way to lower insulin. Allow me to explain some more. I think this analogy is going to make a lot of sense for you before I lay out the protocol on how to practice this so you don't suffer. You see, this is how the body stores food energy. When we eat food, especially carbohydrates, the carbohydrates are turned into strings of sugar called glycogen. And even if it's oatmeal or wheat bread or heart-healthy carbs, all carbohydrates eventually turn into sugar in your body. Now, if it's processed, it happens faster than if it's unprocessed, but all carbs will do that. When you pack these little strings of sugar in glycogen, that goes and it's stored in your liver and muscle cells. This is called your glycogen stores. This is there for a quick burst of energy that your body could get access to right away. There's limited storage capacity in your glycogen stores. So I want you to think of your glycogen stores as your refrigerator. Yes, it's easy to get to your refrigerator. You just walk to your kitchen and pull out food, energy, and put energy back in, but there's limited storage in that refrigerator. Now, the ultimate goal is for you to use all of the groceries inside of your refrigerator, meaning use your sugar reserves as energy, so deplete your liver and muscle sugar reserves, and then get access to your stored body fat. I want you to think of your stored body fat as the freezer in your basement. Maybe you have like 10 freezers down there, meaning a lot of body fat with a lot of stored energy, food that's just sitting there. In order to get to the freezer, aka your body fat, we need to deplete the sugar reserves. Fasting is the quickest way to allow your metabolism to use your sugar reserves. And then what happens is you're lowering insulin each time, each hour that goes by. And then as soon as you deplete those sugar reserves, you have unlocked the door to fat burning. You have access to the freezers, and now you start burning body fat. And you could lose about a pound of fat every day when you follow this routine I'm going to outline for you until you get to that desired body weight. So let's first start with your fasting schedule, and then I'm gonna lead into what you're going to be eating during your eating window. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put a calendar on the screen here, and we're gonna be focusing on Tuesday through Sunday, and then I'll give you the Monday protocol. So what you're gonna be doing from Tuesday to Sunday is an 18-6 intermittent fasting schedule. What that means is out of a 24-hour period, for 18 hours, you're in a fasted state. You're burning your glucose reserves, you're tapping into body fat, you're lowering insulin, you're healing the gut, you're doing amazing things, and I'll explain a little bit more about what happens during that fast. And then you have a 6-hour eating window, but the key is to have the 6-hour eating window earlier in the day. So for Tuesday through Sunday, your eating window, you'll see here on the calendar, is between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. You're going to have 3 meals during your eating window. That could be at 8 a.m., 11 a.m., and then at 2 p.m. you're done eating. Studies show you get the most fat loss, a process called autophagy, which is cellular repair and healing, growth hormone increase, longevity benefits when your eating window is during the day versus later on. So 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. the studies suggest is the best eating window. And then from 2 p.m. to the next day, 8 a.m., you're in the fasted state. You're having water, some supplements, electrolytes, some tea, but you're not having any food. That'll take care of 6 days out of the week. Now, the other day is gonna be between Sunday, 2 p.m., and Monday, 2 p.m. And what you're gonna do during this time period is a 24-hour water fast. So that means you're done eating by Sunday at 2 p.m. You'll continue fasting until Monday at 2 p.m. where you'll break the fast and you'll have just one meal on that Monday. Once you're done with that one meal, you'll go all the way until Tuesday at 8 a.m. and then you'll continue that 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. cycle. And the reason why we are throwing in a 24-hour fast once a week is because your body's really gonna lower insulin, tap into more body fat, help your body produce ketones. When you produce ketones, those ketones actually communicate with your mitochondria, and they signal to your mitochondria to create more mitochondria. And this is very important for fat loss because the more energy, ATP, that your mitochondria produces, the higher your basal metabolic rate, meaning the more calories you burn sitting on the couch and without having to count a calorie. And when we study how the mitochondria produce energy when it's burning sugar versus burning fat, there's 400% more energy production from ketones, aka fat, than burning sugar. So when you do that 24-hour fast, it'll get you into ketosis. You'll get those amazing benefits. That's your 7-day protocol. I will also outline it in the notes in case you got lost on you there. Now, the next question is, all right, but what am I eating during my window? Because you could do this fasting schedule, but then sabotage yourself with the wrong foods during your eating window. So the next segment here is about what you're going to eat during your eating window. Before I get to that, I forgot to mention, during your fast, that 24-hour fast, that Monday, if you got in some cardio in a fasted state, that Monday morning when you're in that fasted state, oh, you will probably double, triple your results here, because here's what happens. When you go into a workout, a cardio, strength training, whatever it is, in that fasted state, let's say 16 or 18 hours fasted, you're putting your body fat at the front of this metabolic bus to burn for fuel first, versus going into a workout, having just had a meal or a protein shake or a banana, you're putting the calories from the food in front of that metabolic bus to be burned for energy first, and then eventually back to your body fat. But when you don't have the meal and you're fasted, quick access for your metabolism to burn body fat. So you will probably double, triple your results here if you do that Monday morning, a fasted workout, cardio, however you want to do it. Okay, now let's get to what you are going to be eating during your eating window. There are 3 key things we're going to focus on during your eating window. There are 3 major exchanges you're going to make. I'm going to outline it for you, and I'm also going to put it in the notes. The first exchange is for you to avoid the following foods that spike insulin. They're high in something called anti-nutrients, plant toxins, which sabotage fat loss and sabotage. It actually increases inflammation. So here's the list of the foods you want to remove. Wheat, all gluten, all wheat bread or wheat products, all grains, brown rice, white rice, millet, oats, including oatmeal, barley, corn and soy, pasteurized cow dairy, which by the way, 75% of adults in the world cannot process pasteurized cow dairy, kale and spinach, which are high in oxalates, which are inflammatory, tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers, which are a nightshade food that can be inflammatory for a lot of people, almonds and almond flour, peanuts and peanut butter, which is a legume. Remove those items. Now, I mentioned it's gonna be easy, so I'm gonna give you some swaps here. What are you gonna replace them with? The following items are the ones you're going to replace those foods with. These foods are going to lower insulin, and they're low in these anti-nutrients slash plant toxins. So here is the list. Cauliflower rice, squash rice, cabbage rice. We mentioned getting rid of the pasteurized cow dairy. You'll swap that for sheep and goat dairy, which is much, much better. Plus, they contain 30% medium chain triglycerides, which actually helps your body produce ketones even faster. You'll swap something like almond milk or whole milk for coconut milk and or macadamia nut milk. Both should be unsweetened. You'll swap the almonds for walnuts, pecans, macadamia nuts, pili nuts, which by the way are the highest fat, lowest carb nut in the world. And then you'll swap the spinach and kale for arugula and asparagus. The second exchange is to make sure your cooking oils and fats are high quality anti-inflammatory, which helps your body burn fat versus the inflammatory kind. And this part right here of the presentation is probably the most important part. I interviewed Dr. 𝙎𝙬𝙎𝘾, who has a new book coming out called Dark Calories. I'm about to interview her for that. On my Metabolic Freedom podcast. She was also the nutritionist for the Los Angeles Lakers back when Kobe Bryant used to play. She's a New York Times bestselling author. Here's an image of me with Dr. 𝙎𝙬𝙎𝘾 at a conference we got to meet in Orlando, Florida. She's brilliant and I love her. And I asked her the question, Dr. Kate, which scenario is going to be worse for your health? Scenario number one, smoking cigarettes every day. Scenario number two, eating processed sugar every day. Or the final scenario, eating vegetable oils every day. You know what she said? She said, ha, Ben, easy question. It's hands down the vegetable oil. She said, smoking cigarettes, obviously it's not good for you. Once you finish the last puff, the damage mostly has been done. Eating processed sugar, also not good for you, but you could exercise, build muscle, burn it off, and the damage has been done. But these vegetable oils, called linoleic acid, the half-life of them are 680 days. These are industrialized seed oils that are processed at high heat temperatures. And when they are processed at high heat temperatures, they become rancid and they stink. So they add bleach and chemical agents to make it clear and to mask the smell. And they put it into your supermarket and your restaurants. And then we heat it up even more and it becomes more oxidized and inflammatory. These fats will prevent you from losing weight. These fats will cause you to gain weight. It'll inflame your cells. And I mentioned if you stop eating them today, 680 days later, half of them will still be around your cell membranes, mitochondrial membranes, creating inflammation. There are 9 of them I'm gonna outline for you right now that you want to remove. Do an audit in your pantry. You do not wanna eat these inflammatory fats because of the way that they're processed. And then I'm gonna give you a list of the healthier swaps. So here are the 9. Canola oil, corn oil, and cottonseed oil. Corn oil in the UK is called rapeseed oil for those of you in the UK. Then we have soybean oil, sunflower oil, and safflower oil. Then we have grapeseed oil and rice bran oil, and also peanut oil if it's a refined peanut oil. Those are the 9 ones you want to avoid. There's also a bonus one. This might shock you, but fish oil is another unstable fat that you want to avoid. Fish oil is not healthy for you. Fish oil has been corrupted by big pharma and big food. Just eat the fish. I love fish oil when it's in the fish, but once it's extracted, not good for you. These are called polyunsaturated fats. Poly means many. It contains many double bonds. The more double bonds these fats have, the more unstable they are. And when you introduce it to high heat temperatures, they oxidize. What does that mean? If I bit into an apple, left it right here in front of you, came back 4 hours later, what would we see? It turns brown. It's oxidizing. These fats are oxidizing your cells, creating inflammation around your membranes and receptor sites, preventing your fat-burning hormones from doing their job. Avoid them. Let me give you the healthy swaps, and I'll give you a tip on what to do at restaurants. So the healthier swaps will be saturated fats, no double bonds, and monounsaturated fats, only a single double bond. So these are the healthier fats. I'm gonna first share the best fats for cooking food and frying food. If you fry food, although I don't recommend that, but for cooking food, these are the fats you wanna go with. Grass-fed butter, grass-fed ghee, grass-fed beef tallow, duck fat, and lard from healthy pigs, pastured pigs, not hydrogenated lard that I'm talking about here. Animal fats are always better for cooking. Then we have the fruit-based oils that are great for salad dressings and dips and lower heat temperatures. Those will include extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, and make sure they're not cut with the seed oil. Make sure they're in a dark glass bottle as well. And I got a gift and a tip for you as well. When you go to a restaurant, I don't care if it's a healthy restaurant or an expensive restaurant, 99% of the time they're going to be using those bad oils, because they're cheap. And what I do when I go to restaurants, I tell the server, ma'am, sir, I'm actually allergic to vegetable oils. Can you use butter or olive oil or do something where you grill it instead? And they usually accommodate. And I've been telling my Keto Camp Academy students to do this for years, and they feel uncomfortable. So I developed a seed oil allergy card. And on this seed oil allergy card, it says, "Dear chef, I am allergic to the vegetable oils. You can see the items down below will cause an allergic reaction." And it has those 9 bad oils with an X next to them. Below are safer options, then it has the good options below. Thank you for keeping me safe. So you can actually download this for free as an image on your phone and then just show that image to your server. If you go to seedoilcard.com, get it for free, download it. It works really, really well. Share it with your friends and family members. People love this. And we'll also drop a link for that in the notes down below. Okay, the third exchange is to remove sugar and artificial sweeteners, and I'll give you a list of the ones you want to avoid with healthier options. So here's a list of the sugar and artificial sweeteners you want to remove that will prevent you from losing weight. Of course, raw sugar, processed sugar, obviously, fruit juice, evaporated cane juice, agave nectar, sucralose called Splenda, and aspartame. These are the ones you want to remove, avoid as much as possible. You want to swap them for safer sugar replacements that will not spike glucose and insulin, that will not raise inflammation, that will not wreck your gut. These are the ones I use for myself and for my students. And it's gonna be stevia, monk fruit, xylitol, erythritol, and even raw honey in limited amounts, especially around exercise could be fine. I know that's a lot of information in terms of what to eat. We'll put notes down below for you to see that, but if you want more of a comprehensive list of a grocery shopping list, then go get my Keto Camp Blueprint. It's giving it to you for free, and in this guide, you'll see exactly everything we mentioned here, but even more. The best ways to cook foods, the worst ways to cook foods, avoid the following dirty keto foods if you're doing keto, approved oils and fats, approved nuts, seeds, and legumes, approved proteins, approved carbohydrates, approved dairy, approved keto sweeteners, and etc. And then the ones you want to avoid, what to do on the go, foods to eat on the go. Anyways, it's a comprehensive aisle by aisle grocery shopping list for not just those doing keto, but for you watching this video who aim to lose a pound of fat every day. Get this for free over at ketocampblueprint.com. We'll drop a link down below. Now I'm gonna share with you a really, really powerful fat burning drink that you'll have in the morning during your eating window between that 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. window. Oh my gosh, not only does it taste delicious, it helps your body really accelerate fat loss, and this is based off of a lot of really amazing research out there. So I'm a coffee drinker, but if you don't drink coffee, you could replace it with either green tea or oolong tea. But this is the ultimate fat burning coffee hack that you could ever consume, which tastes amazing and really allows your body to ramp up fat burning. Coffee's most powerful polyphenol is called chlorogenic acid, CGA for short. And chlorogenic acid signals to your body's fat cells to burn their fatty acids for fuel. Chlorogenic acid also helps with cutting down on cravings, suppressing your appetite, activating your liver to produce healthy amounts of bile, very important for metabolism. It works really powerful in combination with caffeine that you also find in coffee. Chlorogenic acid has been proven to reduce belly fat as well. by increasing the number of fat cells that are burned for energy. Heck, it even works for sleeping. A Norwegian study found that women who drank high amounts of chlorogenic acid from their coffee dropped 3 times more weight than those who consumed lower amounts of chlorogenic acid. When choosing coffee, I'm a bit of a coffee snob, and I really believe you should be too, because not all coffee beans are created equal. First of all, coffee is the #1 sprayed crop in the world when it comes to pesticides and herbicides, and it's not gonna give you the benefits we're talking about here if it's that variety of coffee. You'll find that at, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, these commercial chains. We want it to be organic, and we want to make sure they've tested for heavy metals and contaminants. We also want to get a medium or a light roast. When you get a dark roast, a lot of the antioxidants, especially the chlorogenic acid and the benefits we're talking about here, the heat kills the benefits. So medium or light roast is the goal. This is surprising to a lot of people, but I hate to cook. It's time consuming, and when I see a recipe with a whole bunch of ingredients that take a whole bunch of time, I just tend to not do it. So I decided to put together a program for you. This is a keto recipe of the week program. I personally handpicked every recipe, and I made it very easy to follow, quick to make. And these are fat-burning, delicious, tasty recipes that I actually make in the kitchen, even though I don't enjoy cooking. Every week in this program, you'll be sent a newsletter with why I chose this recipe and how to make this recipe so you could master this keto lifestyle. This is the easiest way to adopt the keto lifestyle, and even if you're not doing keto, it's a great way to incorporate some fat-burning meals. You'll get breakfast, lunch, and dinner items, and we're throwing in hundreds of dollars in free bonuses if you join us. It's only $9.97 per month. You could cancel anytime, and you get those free bonuses. So head over to KetoCampRecipes.com to learn more about the keto recipe of the week and the free bonuses. Remember, camp is spelled with a K, and go check it out. If you're anything like me and you just want quick, easy, and fat-burning delicious recipes, this is for you. Some studies show that when you consume a dark roast, you lose about 75% of the polyphenols, including the chlorogenic acid that we just referenced. I also love coffee that is grown at high altitudes, which stresses it and actually makes it more antioxidant rich. So my personal go-to for coffee is Purity Coffee. I've been drinking them for years. You could get them over at KetoCampCoffee.com and use the coupon code KetoCamp at checkout for a nice discount. We'll drop it down below. But that is the first step, clean coffee. The second step, to make it, oh my gosh, the ultimate fat-burning drink in the world, is to add the following ingredients to your coffee or to consume it in a supplement form. First ingredient is African mango. African mango has been proven to aid in weight loss, especially the fat around your love handles and hips and belly. The second ingredient are exogenous ketones, especially raspberry exogenous ketones, which help with adiponectin. Adiponectin is a fat-burning hormone that you want. The third ingredient is L-carnitine. L-carnitine is like a bus that shuttles fatty acids to your mitochondria, which helps with fat burning and ketone production. The next ingredient is green tea leaf extract. Green tea, a quality green tea, contains a high amounts of catechins and 𝙃𝐶G, which both help burn belly fat. And the final ingredient or supplement here is forskolin extract, derived from mint plants, which helps with weight loss by allowing your body to produce a good amount of leptin, which is a fat-burning hormone. It's a hormone that tells your brain and your stomach you're full, put down the fork. These ingredients, when you combine it with your morning cup of coffee, you're gonna just turn into a fat-burning machine. You could buy these separate ingredients and either take them supplement form or put them into your coffee directly. I have actually found a product that I have started using called Unique Radical Metabolizer by Anne-Louise Gittleman. So it has everything I just mentioned in terms of those ingredients in a single supplement. You would just have it with your coffee. That's an option for you. I'll put a link for you down below to get that as well. The next thing to consider here, and probably this is the most important part, I know I keep saying that, but sleep. Allow me to explain. If you want to burn a pound of fat every day and you want to feel energized and feel good and not have to rely on willpower, you gotta get enough deep delta sleep and REM sleep. First of all, studies show, this is really fascinating, that people who get 8.5 hours of sleep each night versus those who get less than 6.5 hours of sleep each night, the ones who get the 8.5 hours they burn 400 more calories every single day. Think about how fast that adds up. And that doesn't mean you're exercising to burn that off. That means you're gonna burn it off either way, just sitting on your butt all day from sleep. Studies also suggest when you don't get quality sleep, the next morning, you're going to have higher levels of cortisol. What follows cortisol is glucose. What follows glucose is insulin. And we already talked about insulin storing fat. It creates a cortisol belly, which is the belly fat from lack of sleep. But it also makes it much harder to follow this routine because when you don't get quality sleep, the next morning you also have higher levels of the hunger hormone, ghrelin, and lower levels of the satiety hormone, leptin. All bad things. It'll deplete your willpower and it will not allow you to follow the 7-day protocol that I just outlined for you. So sleep is fundamental. If you're building a house, I don't care how fancy your kitchen looks or how incredible the rooftop looks, if the foundation is weak, that house will fall apart wall by wall. Same thing with your health. I know I mentioned 8.5 hours of sleep. I don't expect you to get that. Instead, I expect you to get enough deep and REM sleep. Your body goes through different cycles of sleep each night. REM sleep is more important for memory and decision making and storing short-term memory for long-term memory. Deep delta sleep is most important for detoxification and fat burning. Most of your fat burning hormones are activated during that delta deep sleep. So your goal is to get 90 minutes of deep and delta sleep each night. That 90 minutes of each night. Ben, how do I know how much delta and deep sleep I'm getting? I mean, I use an Oura Ring. I'll put a link for Oura Ring down below. There's also the Apple Watch, there's Fitbits, there's the Whoop Band. I mean, however you want to track it, stick with the same tracker and aim to get 90 minutes of each. If you do that, you will get a lot of fat loss. And I'll share a couple of tips for you that work really well for deep delta sleep and good REM sleep. Banana tea is great. And no, this is not going to break your fast because I know that I just gave you a fasting protocol and you're not going to be eating before bed, but you can have banana tea before bed. It is fasting safe. It's not going to raise your blood sugar. It's not going to start the digestive process. Banana tea is like nature's NyQuil. You simply get a whole banana, organic please, leave the peel on but cut off the ends, put the banana into a pot of water with a couple cups of water and boil it until the peel starts to brown a little bit, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. And what's gonna happen is the micronutrients, the magnesium, the potassium, and all these amazing micronutrients that are mostly in the peel, not the actual banana, begin to seep into the water. And then you're just going to pour the water, the banana tea into a cup, discard the banana or put it into the freezer. You're not eating that banana. You'll drink the banana tea and it'll help you get relaxed and get ready for bed. This is especially important if your mind is racing at night. Now for deep delta sleep, studies suggest that somewhere between 63 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit is what you want to put the temperature, the thermostat in your bedroom to really get that deep restorative fat burning sleep. I also suggest blocking out your room as much as possible and wearing a sleep mask. That'll help as well with deep fat burning sleep. And then lastly here with the sleep tip is to mouth tape. I know it sounds weird, but I've been mouth taping for years and it allows your body to breathe through your nose, which is what you want to do, which helps with nitric oxide, which by the way helps with fat loss, but also helps you get into more of a parasympathetic state and get deeper levels of sleep. I use a company called Somnifix. I'll reference them down below in the notes as well. You're gonna notice just by following, by the way, this new fasting schedule where your eating window is between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m., the more hours you're giving yourself of digestion before sleep, that alone will increase your sleep quality, increase your deep and REM sleep. You'll see that if you're tracking your sleep like right away. But if you add these other sleep tips, that'll make a big difference as well. I talk a lot about keto and intermittent fasting for fat loss. But in reality, when I was obese at 250 pounds and 34% body fat, I used something really simple to get rapid fat loss to go from 250 pounds, as you can see on the screen, to as low as 6% body fat. And my secret was physical activity from walking. In this lesson, I'm gonna share with you how walking will help you burn fat. It could be the king of fat loss, and more than just fat loss, what it does for health and longevity and anti-aging. I'm also gonna be sharing with you 3 different methods to practice walking to get the biggest fat loss benefits. If you're not using walking as a tool in your shed for fat loss, I'm gonna inspire you to do so. Let's start with how lack of steps, a sedentary lifestyle, leads to the accumulation of stubborn fat around your stomach, your hips, and your love handles. We know we have an obesity crisis, not just in the United States, but across the world. Harvard put out an article stating by the year 2030, 50% of Americans will be classified as obese. That's 1 in 2 adults. It's almost there at this point right now. When you don't get enough physical activity, when you don't get enough steps, it makes it really difficult to burn fat. Check out this study from the Journal of Physiology titled "Physical Inactivity Causes Exercise Resistance of Fat Metabolism." The study states that physical activity is the 4th leading cause of death in the world. It is associated with a myriad of diseases and premature death. 2 possible contributing factors are postprandial lipidemia, which accelerates atherosclerosis. That's the accumulation of plaque in your arteries. And it says it causes impaired whole body fat oxidation. That is the ability to burn stubborn fat. And they say it contributes to obesity. Acute exercise in physically active people is effective for increasing whole body fat oxidation and lowering those PPL levels the next morning. It states the increase in mortality with reduced daily steps is remarkably steep. Low background steps per day also impair the metabolic adaptations to short-term endurance training, suggesting that the ills of inactivity extend beyond fat metabolism. Exercise resistance with inactivity could be a culprit causing atherosclerosis and widespread diseases. The recommendations regarding the amount of moderate to vigorous exercises needed for health should factor in background activity. And this study says get at least 8,000 steps per day to avoid this exercise resistance. So you can see in this graphic from this study what exactly we're talking about here. This is the how inactivity impairs fat metabolism after exercise. It shows that physical inactivity leads to fat accumulation and the ability to burn your own stored fat. So the study is saying you want to get at least 8,000 steps per day. The average person gets 2,000 to 3,000 steps per day. And it's also sharing, and other studies show this as well, that you want to get these steps over the course of a day. You don't just want to go and do a workout and get those 8,000 steps, or go for a long walk and get those 8,000 steps. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but to get the best benefits from walking as it pertains to health, longevity, and fat loss is to create these exercise snacks. These are intentional times throughout the day where you get in activity, you get in steps. I'll give you some examples. When you go to the shopping mall or the grocery store, instead of driving all around the parking lot looking for the closest parking spot to get you into that shopping center faster, forget about that. Park far and walk your way to the shopping center and walk your way back. You get steps that way. Another example, when you have the option to take the elevator or to take the stairs, take the stairs. If you're taking the escalators, walk on the escalators as you take it. Go walk for your dog throughout the day. Take breaks throughout the day and get those steps. Another adaptation or a variation could be a walking treadmill, right? The goal is to accumulate these steps throughout the day to get the biggest bang for your buck. Now, with all that being said, there's also some research showing that it's not just about fat loss. Walking has profound benefits on health and longevity. This study from Science News titled "Meta-analysis of 15 studies report new findings on how many daily walking steps needed for longevity benefit." The meta-analysis of 15 studies involved nearly 50,000 people from 4 continents, offering new insights into identifying the amount of daily walking steps that will ultimately improve adults' health and longevity. After analyzing 15 studies with nearly 50,000 participants, it found that walking at least 7,000 steps daily can reduce risk of all-cause mortality by 50 to 70% compared to those who walked fewer steps. That's really fascinating because the first study I referenced said in order for you to achieve the maximum fat loss, you want to hit about 8,000 steps per day. This is saying you only need to get about 5,000 to 7,000 steps to reduce risk of all-cause mortality by 50 to 70%. So the bare minimum of steps that I would suggest you get every day is at least 5,000. If you could get it over 8,000 and maybe even closer to 10,000 and 12,000, we see that there's more benefits to fat loss and longevity that seems to taper out around 14,000 to 16,000 steps. So the general range that you want to hit is somewhere between 5,000 steps as the minimum and up to about 16,000 steps per day. Walking is one of the best ways we could become more insulin sensitive. About 60% of Americans are either diabetic or pre-diabetic. This is a result of high insulin and glucose levels. And your insulin levels could be elevated for up to 14 years, according to the Whitehall study, without your fasting blood sugars changing or your A1C changing, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're diagnosed with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. This is called hyperinsulinemia. Another term is insulin resistance, when insulin has to be pumped out so hard and so much because of high carbohydrate diets and inactivity, it leads to a whole host of problems. It's the first domino to fall. High insulin levels are the first domino to fall that leads to obesity, chronic disease, cancer, heart disease. I mean, I could name the condition. It's linked to high insulin levels. With an active lifestyle, getting those steps, you lower insulin levels, because when you walk, you move the largest muscles in your body, your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings. The simple contraction of these muscles allows insulin to become more sensitive as the cells in your legs suck up the blood sugar, suck up the glucose floating around in the bloodstream. This sensitizes insulin, and it's one of the fastest, easiest, best ways to lose fat. Walking in general utilizes more fat as a percentage for fuel. The more steps you get, the more fat you burn. And the cool part is that you're not breaking down any muscle with these daily steps, because it's not intense enough or vigorous enough and extensive enough to break down that muscle. You preserve muscle mass, which is actually important for longevity and for overall metabolic health and raising your metabolic rate. Not only does it do all those wonderful things, it improves blood flow and oxygen and nutrient delivery to your muscles as well. And walking can be done by pretty much any person of any walk of life, of any age. That's the cool thing about it. And I love that the studies are showing you only have to get 5,000 steps a day to get a lot of these benefits. So now that we have established what walking, physical activity can do for fat loss, health, and longevity, let's discuss 3 variations to incorporate into your daily walking routine to get the biggest bang for your buck, the most benefits. The first way is to walk at the right time. The best time to go for a walk is right after your meal. Ideally, you want to go for a walk after all of your meals, but I know for some people that might be really difficult to do with your schedule. So if you could time a walk after your largest meal of the day, especially the highest carbohydrate-rich meal that you consume per day, you're going to get the most benefits. Here's why. The overall goal for fat loss, health, and longevity is to optimize your postprandial blood sugar levels. The word postprandial means after eating. The more elevated your blood glucose levels are after eating, the more insulin needs to be cranked out. The more insulin that's cranked out, the more fat you're storing. That's because when you eat food, you're going to turn the food, especially carbohydrates and even protein, into strings of sugar called glycogen. You store this glycogen in your glycogen stores, your liver and muscle cells. But if your postprandial glucose stays elevated, it goes too high after eating, after you refill those glycogen stores, what's left? The rest goes into your body fat. So if we could blunt this postprandial glucose response, if we could produce less insulin, we'll go back into a fat burning state much faster. Walking after that meal is one of the best ways to achieve this. I've done several tests with the continuous glucose monitor where I'll eat the same meal and I will not go for a walk and look at my postprandial glucose levels, and then I'll eat the same meal the next day and then go for a walk, and I notice a significant difference in those blood sugar levels after eating. And it's not just my N of 1 experiment, the research backs this up as well. This study, titled "The Effects of Postprandial Walking on the Glucose Response After Meals with Different Characteristics," showed exactly what I'm referring to here. Here's what the study showed. Postprandial brisk walking substantially reduced the glucose peak in both studies with no significant differences across conditions. When evaluating the glycemic response throughout the 2 hours post-meal, postprandial walking was more effective after consuming a lower carbohydrate content meal, and similarly effective after a mixed meal or a high carbohydrate drink. Although higher glucose values were observed when consuming the carbohydrate, the high glucose drink, our findings show that a 30-minute postprandial brisk walking session improves the glycemic response after meals with different carbohydrate content and macronutrient composition, with implications for postprandial exercise prescription in daily life scenarios. Therefore, one of the best things you can do is to go for a 30-minute walk after your biggest meal of the day, the meal that has the most carbohydrates, to get this postprandial glucose effect. the benefit of lowering those postprandial glucose. What happens here is your body activates your GLUT4 transporters, and it's just a signal to clear glucose out of the bloodstream and use it for energy. And you get that with a walk after a meal. So if you could go for a walk after all your meals, awesome. If not, choose the biggest meal of the day and go for up to a 30-minute walk to get that benefit. The second way to enhance your walking is to create walking adaptations. This is something that I did constantly as I was on my way to achieving a fit, healthy body, from being obese to being physically fit. Walking adaptations forces your bodies to adapt to different changes and patterns. This confuses the body and the muscles, which accelerates fat burning and elevates your basal metabolic rate. All great personal trainers and fitness coaches understand the principle of adaptation, meaning if you ever worked out or were trained by a great fitness coach, a personal trainer, you've seen this. Every week is a new exercise. Every week it's high weight, low rep, high rep. They change it up constantly to keep the body adapting and guessing. This prevents stalls, prevents plateaus, and gets the body adapting. And when you would force the body to adapt, good cells get stronger, bad cells don't adapt. Those are cells, those are mitochondria, and your body's really smart. It'll get rid of the bad stuff that's not strong. It's kind of like survival of the fittest, and it'll enhance the strong cells and mitochondria, which help with energy production, which help with your basal metabolic rate, which at the end of the day help with your energy levels and help with fat loss. This is why programs like P90X, if you've ever done that or heard about that, work so well, because of this concept called muscle confusion. So how do you create muscle confusion and adaptation with walking? Here are my favorite methods to achieve this. Walking on an incline treadmill is a fantastic way to create an adaptation. This treadmill could be found at your gym. You could buy an under the desk treadmill. Setting it up on an incline and walking on that creates an adaptation, creates additional stressors to get more benefits from that. Walking backward or sideways is another way to achieve that. Again, you could do that on a treadmill, or you could walk around your neighborhood backward or sideways, helps to strengthen the knees, creates adaptation, creates more benefits from the walking. Yes, your neighbors might think you're crazy, and you could let them know why you're doing this, and you could educate them and send them to this video or podcast to understand more. Walking outside in the elements is a great way as well to create adaptations. Bonus points if you do this in the morning during sunrise and during the evening during sunset. But the heat, the temperature outside, the variations outside, the elements are going to help create adaptation as well. So if you can get out of your house or your gym and go outside and walk, also beneficial, even more beneficial. All this adds up. So the more variation and changes you could bring to your adaptations and your walking, the more benefits you're going to get. So you could also do this by walking a little faster, slowing down, faster, slowing down. Anything you can do to change up a normal routine with your walking, you're going to create an adaptation. The third method to get more benefits from your walking is to increase the intensity of your walking. This is similar to the adaptation principle we just discussed, but we're taking it to another level here. Most people walk at a casual pace, which doesn't really create adaptation or elevate the metabolism to burn extra fat. When you increase your speed during a walk or add certain weights to a walk, you create an energy demand the body has to adapt to, which forces the body to burn more fat and increase your metabolic rate. A good walking pace to achieve this is to try the walking and talking test. You don't need to have a buddy to do this, although you can, but here's what you want to accomplish. You want to be mostly out of breath during a walk. Not completely, but mostly out of breath. If you could hit that target of like walking and you're talking, but you're having some difficulty speaking because you're out of breath, you hit a good pace. You're burning fat. You're getting a lot of benefits and getting a good intense workout from that walk. So test that out and make sure you're a little bit out of breath to create that adaptation and to force this demand on your body to adapt to get more fat loss. Another way to achieve this is to add weights as you walk. You could add dumbbells, hold a kettlebell, put on a backpack with weights, or maybe even wear something like heavy clothes to create additional stressors during that walk for your body to adapt to and get more results as well. All of these variations work really well to achieve the results you want to get. This is the king of fat loss. If you skip this and you're just focused on nutrition and lifting weights, yes, you'll get some benefits, but if you apply this to whatever nutritional program you're following, whatever routine you have, it's going to elevate your results. Now, with all that being said, I'm going to answer some of the most common questions I get when I talk about the concept of walking for fat loss. So let's get started with the first question. First question is, what are some of the key signs someone may have a harmful sedentary lifestyle. The first obvious one is you have extra weight on your body, especially belly fat. You look down and you see your belly. That is a sign of a sedentary lifestyle. That usually means you have high insulin levels, high blood sugar levels, insulin resistance, and type 2 diabetes for sure is a sign of a sedentary lifestyle. But also achy joints. If you're not moving around, your joints are going to be achy. You use it or you lose it. Having skin tags and brown patches are signs of insulin resistance from a sedentary lifestyle as well. And feeling tired after eating meals is another sign of a sedentary lifestyle. So you could overcome all of that just by getting those 5,000 plus steps per day. The next question is, what are some of the worst exercises people do for losing weight and longevity that I should avoid? Chronic cardio and chronic exercise is going to actually be counterintuitive. You might think more is better, more steps. Long runs, extreme workouts are better, and more consistent workouts are better. But the truth is that is not the case. You want to apply these stressors, but you want to adapt to it and recover from those stressors. And chronic cardio and exercising too much actually can cause a cortisol response, which is your stress hormone, which actually causes you to store fat. So you want to find a good sweet spot of getting in your physical activity, getting quality sleep, recovering, and then repeat, so on and so forth. So I'm personally not a fan of long distance running, like people run 5Ks and marathons. That's actually counterintuitive to health, longevity, and fat loss. I like these exercise snacks that we spoke about. Burst training is also great, sprinting is great. So I would avoid the chronic exercise and do more burst, short, intense, and then recover and back and forth exercises. The next question is, are there any hacks while walking to enhance weight loss? I know some people put on weighted backpacks or heavy clothes to sweat more. What are your thoughts on this? Yes, as I mentioned earlier, this creates additional stressors and adaptation. If you're a beginner to walking and you're just starting to improve your daily step count, don't even do this. First, get your daily steps up over 5,000, get it closer to at least 8,000. Once you're comfortable doing that, then you want to stack an additional stressor. That could be holding the dumbbells, a weighted vest, holding your little dog and walking around the neighborhood. So eventually you want to get there, but if you're a beginner, I would not recommend it. But it will help overall with fat loss, inflammation, lowering of inflammation, and overall longevity. Next question is, what are the best times of day you would recommend going for a walk? Kind of touched upon this in the video, but the best time is after a meal, in the morning, getting that sunshine. And the reason I say that, by the way, in the morning, when you get sunshine through your eyes, through your retina, on your skin, so take off your sunglasses, you sync your hormones, your circadian rhythm with Mother Nature. And that's the way we were designed to thrive. It balances your hormones, buffers cortisol, helps you burn more fat, and then at night helps you get better sleep because that sun signals to your pineal gland to start storing melatonin, and then at night when you go to bed, you release it. And melatonin is important for metabolic health. It's an anti-inflammatory, it's an antioxidant. It also helps to get quality sleep to recover from the physical activity. So you can see how it goes hand in hand. Now the sunset also has benefits when you look at the sunset, because then it signals to your pineal gland to start releasing that melatonin. So if you could get morning sunshine, evening sunshine, and walk after the meals, those are the best 3 times for walking. The next question is, if people don't have an hour in a day to get the allotted amount of steps required to see results, what are the other hacks or exercises you would recommend? This is perfect because I actually don't recommend just going for an hour walk and that's your activity for the day. We recommend the exercise snacks. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just getting those daily steps, being creative with how you get those steps, parking far in the parking lot, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, doing whatever you can to just chip away throughout the day to get the steps. You don't have to carve out an hour a day to get the steps. I actually don't recommend that. Do it throughout the day with exercise snacks. Maybe you work in your office for 3 hours and you're like, okay, time to take a 10-minute break, and you just walk around your office or walk around the backyard or walk outside somewhere for 10 minutes and then go back to work. Doing that throughout the day is much better than just going for a 60-minute walk once a day. The next question is, what are some of the big ways you turned walking and other forms of exercise into a habit? I struggle to be consistent with it and make it feel seamless in my day. Yeah, I totally could relate to that. Same thing with me and a lot of people. When you start to change your behaviors, it can be difficult. I always tell my Keto Camp Academy students, 1 tweak a week, right? If you're the average person getting 2,000 to 3,000 steps per day, I don't expect you to go to 8,000 and 10,000 in that first week. If you're at 3,000, go from 3,000 to 3,500 the next day. Do that for a few days and then go to 4,000 steps per day. Do that for a few days and then go to 4,500 steps per day. Ramp your way up, and you won't know how many steps you get unless you track it. So the good news is that there's many ways to track your steps. There are free apps on your phone that you could download, and as long as you keep the phone on you when you walk and the app turned on, it'll count your steps. Then we have things like Apple Watch, Whoop bands, Fitbits. I use an Oura Ring. It counts your daily steps. So if you start tracking that and just start increasing it each day or each few days, it'll turn into a habit. When you try to do too much too soon, that's where you could feel overwhelmed and struggle to be consistent. So don't go from 3,000 steps to 10,000 steps in a week. Build your way up, and remember, one tweak a week. That's all it takes to really get those results, and then it becomes a habit. You rewire the brain, and then it's just habitual. That's exactly what I did, because I lived a sedentary lifestyle for 20 plus years. It's what led to my obesity. And once I started to develop these habits and do exactly what I taught you today, everything changed for me. It changed my life. I feel incredible. I burned a lot of fat. I went from obese to being fit, and you could do the same thing too. So the goal here is not necessarily a fast metabolism, but an efficient one. If you implement these 5 easy tips, you're gonna notice fat loss disappearing off your body day by day, and it's going to stay off. It's not restrictive. In fact, you don't have to rely on willpower. It will be easy. You're not going to count any calories, but you will burn a ton of calories following these methods. Let's start with the first tip here. The first most important step here is to get fat adapted. Out of the 70 trillion cells inside of your body, there are 2 primary sources for energy for your cells and your metabolism: sugar or fat. 93% of people in the United States are sugar burners. When you're burning sugar instead of fat, this slows your metabolism and it creates a lot of inflammation in your body, which blocks your fat burning hormones. And when you're burning sugar as well, you have high levels of a fat storage hormone called insulin. How do you know if you're burning sugar or fat? I'm gonna ask you 5 questions right here, and I want you to be honest with me, yes or no. If you answer yes to 2 or more of the 5 questions I'm about to ask you, chances are you're a sugar burner. First question is, do you usually feel tired after eating a meal, especially a meal with a lot of carbs? Number 2, do you snack in between your meals? Number 3, do you have skin tags? They could be around your neck, your eyelids, anywhere on your body, your back. Do you have any skin tags, which is usually a result of high insulin levels? Number 4, do you have brown patches by your armpit area? That's usually a sign of sugar burning, high insulin levels. And number 5, if you skip a meal, whether it's intentional or not, do you get hangry, hungry and angry, where you're so pissed off, so hungry, you're not fun to be around? Now, if you answered yes to 2 or more of the 5 questions I just asked you, there's a high probability that you're burning sugar instead of fat. Now, you could always get some lab work done. The best test to get done is a fasting insulin. If it's more than 10, for sure you're a sugar burner. But I got good news for you. In this first tip here, I'm gonna share with you 2 easy little tips, little steps in the next 7 days to burn fat instead of sugar. The reason why we want to burn fat instead of sugar is because when you're stuck burning sugar, you have all this stored energy, body fat. That's all body fat is. Really, essentially, it's stored energy. Our ancestors did not know when the next meal was going to come. It could have been hours, days, weeks, or sometimes months later. So by storing a lot of body fat, when there was not food available, their metabolism tapped into that stored energy so they could survive during those lean months or weeks or days. This is called the famine days. Now, in the year we live in, this day and age we live in, there's no famine. There's a Uber Eats delivery person at your door. There's snacking, there's refrigerators. So we have to mimic our ancestors in this way. When you're burning sugar and have all this excess body fat, it's similar to those, you see those trucks on the highway that has gasoline on top, that's delivering the gasoline to gas stations? So think of that truck that you see here on the screen as the gasoline on top being the stored energy or body fat that you have. In order to tap into that stored energy, the gasoline, you need to stop putting gasoline into the truck. If you keep putting gasoline into the truck, you're never gonna access all the energy you have stored on top. Same thing with your body fat. If you keep raising insulin and telling your body to store energy and store fat, when will you ever tap into your body fat, the stored energy? Never. So the goal is to become fat adapted, because when you become fat adapted,
you lower insulin, and then this metabolic switch takes place where now you access your body fat, or in other words, the gasoline on that truck. One of the cool things about being fat adapted as well is that your cells and mitochondria produce 400% more energy when you're burning fat versus sugar. And I'm not gonna get too complicated here, but this is called the electron transport chain, where your metabolism takes these substrates, converts it into energy via the Krebs cycle. And when we look at how the mitochondria produce energy called ATP from fat versus the energy from glucose, fat is giving you 400% more ATP. This is really important because when you're producing more energy, naturally your metabolism is going to raise its metabolic rate, meaning your metabolism will burn more calories, more body fat, sitting on the couch, watching TV, just going through your day-to-day without having to excessively exercise or count a single calorie that goes into your mouth. This is metabolic freedom, my friends. So here is the 2 easy tips to achieve a fat burning state in the next 7 days. Write this down. I will also put it in the notes down below. First step here is to gradually lower your carbohydrate intake every single day until you eventually get under 50 total grams of carbs per day. Why am I focusing on carbs here? Well, when we look at the 3 macronutrients, carbohydrates, protein, and fat, and you look at this graph right here from Virta Health, you can see that carbohydrates, even healthy carbs, but especially processed carbs, will spike glucose and therefore insulin higher than any other macronutrient. And we just established when insulin is cold, those insulin troops, you're storing fat. You're not burning fat. So always remember, high insulin levels, fat storage state. Low insulin levels, fat burning state. Now, protein has a small insulin response that is safe. Fat doesn't touch the dial on insulin. There's a 0 spike, as you can see in the graph here. So what we want to do is gradually decrease the carbs. This is the first step here in tip number 1, and do that in a slow manner where eventually by day 7, you're under 50 total grams of carbs per day. The second step here, which you do at the same time as the first step, is to follow the 2-2-2-2 rule. I'll put this on the screen, I'll put it in the notes, and write it down if you want, but the 2-2-2-2 rule is something you want to do every day from day 1 until day 7. This is going to get your metabolism familiar with burning fatty acids for fuel instead of sugar and glucose. So the first 2 in this rule is 2 tablespoons of grass-fed butter or grass-fed ghee. The second 2 is 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, MCT oil, or duck fat. The third 2 is 2 tablespoons of olive oil, avocado oil, or beef tallow. And the final 2 is 2 teaspoons of sea salt. That's gonna help replenish the electrolytes you lose as you drop insulin. By day 7, just following these 2 simple steps here, and by the way, I've taken thousands of people from burning sugar to burning fat with these 2 easy steps. It's gonna be really cool for you to do this in the next 7 days. By day 7 of doing this, most of you will be in a fat burning state. How do you test for that? The best way is to get a Keto Mojo device and prick your blood, your finger, and get blood and put it into the machine, and it'll tell you if you're in ketosis, essentially, 0.5 or higher. You don't have to get that, but if you do, we have a link for you to get a Keto Mojo, which is ketocampmachine.com. We'll put in the links down below. Before I move on to the second step here, the second tip here in your 5-step routine protocol for burning fat in a natural way, there is a free keto kickstart guide that I want to offer to you to make that first step here easy, so you can know which foods to eat, which foods to stay away from, and just more information that I could share in this video. You can download that free keto kickstart guide. As you can see, 4 steps to burning sugar and burning fat, and I have a lot of good info here over at ketokickstartguide.com. We'll put the link in the notes down below. Download it. It'll take you like 20 minutes to read it, and you'll really understand and master the first tip here. Once you complete this first step, after the first 7 days, then we implement the second step, and that's gonna be something called early time restricted feeding. Some people call it intermittent fasting, some people call it time restricted feeding. I'm gonna explain a little bit more. I'm gonna give you 2 ways to practice this. We're designed, our hormones, our circadian rhythm is designed to consume most of our calories when the sun is out, earlier in the day as much as possible. So our metabolism will function best. You'll burn more fat when you're eating the majority of your calories for breakfast and lunch. if you're in the habit of eating a late dinner, eating right before bed, or eating when the sun is down, that's gonna really slow down fat loss. So you wanna make sure you're at least not eating at night when the sun is down. Now, if you wanna optimize this approach here, you wanna consume the majority, all of your calories, before 3 or 4 p.m. Why do I say that? There is a really fascinating study from the University of Alabama, Birmingham with Dr. Courtney Peterson. And I referenced this study in my book, Keto Flex, which we just released the second edition over at ketoflexbook.com. This study is really fascinating because they took two groups and they controlled everything in a lab, the same food, the same caloric load, and the only difference was that, let's say group 1 had their calories between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. and group 2 had the same food, same calories, but they had it between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. So the first group here did early time restricted feeding. The second group did not. They did time restricted feeding and they benefited, but it wasn't early time restricted feeding. After 4 days, they saw something really fascinating in this study. They saw in group 1, the early time restricted feeding group, 22% more autophagy after 4 days. What is that? That is cellular repair, cellular cleanup. Your body is lowering inflammation and healing its metabolism and senescent cells. They saw 20% more in the group 1 versus group 2. And then also in group 1, after 4 days, they saw 10% more of their sirtuins, which are these longevity genes that protect your DNA from getting damaged. We saw an increase by 10% after 4 days in the early time restricted feeding group. Did not see that in the group that ate later on. So all the evidence is pointing towards eating earlier in the day. So the optimal window here would be between 8 a.m. and I'll give you a little bit of some wiggle room. We'll go to 4 p.m., but if you could stop eating at 2 p.m., even better. You'll 10x your results here with this routine. I would throw on top of that, once per week, doing a 24-hour water fast where you go breakfast to breakfast once a week. Let's say it's Sunday. Sunday, you have a nice healthy breakfast, protein and fat, focused, low carb, and then you're done eating, and you don't eat again until Monday at breakfast. That's a 24-hour water fast. Now, in between that, you could have water, coffee, tea, electrolytes, but no food. Allowing your body to go in a fast for 24 hours really starts pulling out your fat storage, really starts using fat for fuel. You get an increase in ketones and you get all these amazing benefits. So that's your second step here. Practice an eating window, having no more than 3 meals between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., even better, 2 p.m. And then once a week, doing a breakfast to breakfast 24-hour water fast. The third step here in your protocol is to consume apple cider vinegar, the right kind at the right time for fat loss. Now, apple cider vinegar seems to be all the rage these days. It is in vogue. We have apple cider vinegar gummies and powders, and it's all over the place. People are talking about boosting your metabolism with apple cider vinegar. I do think a lot of the claims are exaggerated. However, there is some really cool research showing what it does when you consume it at the right time. There's research showing apple cider vinegar can improve metabolic flexibility, reduce your blood sugar levels after you eat a meal, which helps to prevent fat storage, and also suppress appetite, which is great for people who tend to overeat. There are 3 major benefits that come with the right apple cider vinegar that we should be mindful of. Number 1 is something called acetic acid. Acetic acid has been shown to improve metabolic function by helping you burn, some studies suggest, up to 600 more calories per day with consistent acetic acid consumption. Apple cider vinegar aids in digestion as well, helps your liver, which is a very important fat loss detoxification organ, helps the liver produce healthy amounts of bile to break down the extra fats you're eating so your cells could use those minerals, those vitamins, A, D, E, and K. Apple cider vinegar can also help with heartburn and lack of digestive enzymes in your digestive system. And the next benefit of apple cider vinegar is what it does for your blood sugar levels. We just established that the higher your blood sugar levels, the higher insulin is, and the more you signal to your body to store fat. Apple cider vinegar has been proven, especially when you take it at the right time, to lower your blood sugar levels. So that's very, very important for our protocol here today. So here are the 3 best times to consume apple cider vinegar for fat loss. First way is first thing in the morning. When you wake up, grab a cup of water, 8-12 ounces, pour some apple cider vinegar or take a high quality capsule and do that first thing in the morning. It'll help reduce cravings. It'll help you continue fasting if you want to do that, or just help you feel energized as well. The second best time to take apple cider vinegar is 15 to 20 minutes before your next meal. What that's going to do is help you break down that meal more efficiently so you could use those building blocks, as we mentioned, the substrates for energy production. A study showed that apple cider vinegar improved insulin sensitivity after even a high carb meal by 34%, and I'll reference that study down below. So make sure you consume it first thing in the morning, 15 to 20 minutes before your next meal, and then right after your meal. That's going to help with postprandial blood sugar levels, which is your blood sugar spike after eating a meal. The more you could blunt this response, the faster you're gonna allow your body to burn fat after the meal. Now with apple cider vinegar, there are a lot of gummies and brands out there. I am really skeptical about a lot of the brands, especially the gummies out there. I personally use the apple cider vinegar complex from Paleo Valley. It also has ginger and turmeric and other compounds that synergize together, and I take 2 to 3 before a meal, and it really helps. If you're gonna drink apple cider vinegar, drink it out of a straw and dilute it with water, because it could be really harsh on your esophagus if you just take it straight up. And by the way, if you get the Paleo Valley apple cider vinegar, you could use the code KETOCAMP at checkout for a nice discount. I'll drop it down below. The fourth step in your protocol to lose body fat naturally is to go for a 20-minute walk after all of your meals, especially your biggest meal. The name of the game is to blunt that postprandial glucose response. Postprandial means after eating, and we wanna prevent glucose from spiking really high after eating, because if we do get a big glucose spike, it's gonna signal insulin to come out and store fat, store fat. But if we can blunt that response, it'll allow insulin to fall asleep or be at bay. We don't wanna wake up a sleeping giant here. It allows your body to tap into body fat faster. Studies suggest, and I'm gonna share this study right here on the screen, the effects of postprandial walking on glucose response after eating meals with different characteristics. You can see here that postprandial brisk walking substantially reduced the glucose peak in both studies with no significant differences across conditions. When evaluating the glycemic response throughout the 2 hours post-meal, postprandial walking was more effective after consuming a low carbohydrate content, and similarly effective after a mixed or a carbohydrate drink. Although higher glucose values were observed when consuming the glucose drink, the carbohydrate drink, our findings show that a 30-minute postprandial brisk walking session improves the glycemic responses after meals with different carbohydrate content and macronutrient composition, with implications for postprandial exercise prescription and daily life scenarios. That means you want to get into the habit of walking after your meals. The final step in your protocol here is to complete HIIT workouts in the fasted state 4 times per week, followed by steady state mild cardio. Allow me to unpack all of that. Now, in 2008, I was obese at 250 pounds. You can see the photos on the screen here. And all the steps that I just outlined for you in the protocol helped me achieve going from 250 pounds to 170 pounds, from 34% body fat down to 6% body fat. And one of the things I did on a consistent basis was this tip number 5 here in your protocol: Tabata workouts. And I did them fasted. Before I talk about Tabata workouts, why would we want to do a workout fasted? Well, because when you go into a workout having just consumed a meal or a protein shake or a protein bar or a banana, you're putting the food calories at the front of your metabolism to be burned for energy first. Now, when you go into a workout without having eaten a meal, you're in a fasted state, then you're not putting anything at the front of that metabolic bus. Instead, you're allowing your body, your metabolism, to tap into your body fat real quick for an energy source. So eating a meal before workout delays your body's ability to tap into body fat. But going into a workout in a fasted state, your metabolism will tap right into your body fat. You'll get faster fat loss results. When you're fat adapted, it's a lot easier to do this. If you're not fat adapted and you're a sugar burner, then you have no business doing a fasted workout. That's why I put tip number 1 as tip number 1. Tabata workouts are really, really cool. And how you do this, you probably know about this. I used to own a CrossFit gym. We used to do a lot here at my CrossFit gym here in Miami. It's 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 4 minutes total, 4 essential rounds here. When you do a high intensity interval training workout that includes body weight strength movements, it's one of the best ways to build lean muscle mass, which raises your metabolic rate, helps you more insulin sensitive, extends your lifespan. I mean, all these amazing benefits when you do this the right way. Tabata workouts are structured as 4-minute workouts with 20 seconds of an all-out effort, 10-second rest as you repeat for a total of 4 minutes. I want you to do 4 Tabatas back to back to back to back. That's a complete workout. It should take you about 20 minutes to complete, unless you take excessive breaks in between, and that's totally fine. I'm gonna share with you 4 Tabata workouts. I'll show you the movements on how to do them, and you're simply going to do these 4 Tabata workouts, one after the other, 3 to 4 times per week, followed by walking afterwards. And I'll talk about the walking after I get through these. So the first Tabata workout, and I'm gonna write them all in the notes down below, but I'll show you some visuals here for those watching on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, check out the notes down below. The first Tabata is using 2 movements, burpees, which you can see on the screen how a burpee is performed, and jump squats, which you can see here on the screen how jump squats are performed. So with this first Tabata workout, you're simply gonna do burpees for 20 seconds. You just grab your phone. This is what I do, and there's some songs that are actually equivalent to Tabatas. You could go on Spotify and type in Tabata music and you could find it, but I simply just grab my phone and you see the timer here, I hit start, and then I start and I do 20 seconds of burpees. As many as you can for 20 seconds. After 20 seconds, you stop, catch your breath, rest for 10 seconds, and then once you hit, let's say, the next marker, which will be at the 30-second mark here, then you go into your jump squats where you squat, jump for 20 seconds, as many as you can for 20 seconds, and then you rest for 10 seconds. That's 1 full round. You got 4 rounds per Tabata. Then you go back to the burpees for 20 seconds, 10-second rest, etc. So that's the first Tabata. Once you complete that, which is 4 rounds, 4 minutes, you move right into the second Tabata. The 2 movements you're using in the second Tabata is going to be push-ups and alternating lunges. So for 20 seconds, you do as many push-ups as possible. You could do them weighted if regular push-ups are too easy, or you could do them on your knees if regular push-ups are too difficult. 20 seconds of push-ups, 10 seconds of rest. Alternating lunges, which I'll show you here on the screen how to do that, just stepping back and forth with each leg. 20 seconds of lunges, 10 seconds of rest, doing that back and forth for 4 minutes. Once you complete Tabata 2, you move on to Tabata 3. With Tabata 3, you're going to do jumping rope or jumping jacks for 20 seconds, 10 seconds of rest, and then chair dips, and I'll show you a video here, chair dips, 20 seconds, as many as possible, 10 seconds of rest, 4 rounds. You complete Tabata 3, you move right into Tabata 4, which is gonna be 20 seconds of good mornings. Good mornings are, hopefully we could find a video on this, but when you bend down and up, do as many as you can for 20 seconds, 10 seconds of rest, and then Russian twist where you're sitting down on your butt, legs are elevated and you're going side to side, working up that core. 20 seconds, 10 seconds of rest, 4 rounds as well. And then you complete your full workout. Should take you 20 minutes if you go through each one back to back to back to back, but if you take breaks in between, it'll take a little bit longer. Again, I put those down below in the notes. Once you finish the workout, it's important to do this. And by the way, if you want some really great content for fitness, go check out Giancarlo Anzalati. His YouTube channel is amazing. I put a link for his channel down below. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. He's got a ton of great fitness content out there. Now, after you finish the Tabata, the next thing you wanna do, right after the workout, is to go into a slow, steady cardio state. Just what I mean by that is a 30 to 60 minute walk, because what's gonna happen with that high intensity training, you're gonna deplete your sugar reserves, your glycogen stores, which is in your liver and muscle cells primarily. Then your body's gonna start using body fat for energy. It's gonna start mobilizing those fatty acids, putting it into your bloodstream, and you're primed for fat burning right now. The Tabata high intensity training workouts will keep your metabolism elevated for many hours after the workout, but as soon as the workout is done and you go for a walk, now you have all the fatty acids in your bloodstream, and just by going for a 30 to 60 minute walk, listen to my podcast, the Metabolic Freedom Podcast, listen to an audiobook, you're gonna allow your metabolism to burn those fatty acids in your bloodstream faster. So that's the complete protocol. You do this, you're gonna blast fat naturally. Did you know that most of your fat burning hormones are activated during a process during sleep called delta sleep? That's true. You actually burn more fat getting delta sleep than you do at the gym. I see so many people doing crazy things trying to burn belly fat, taking dangerous supplements, doing fad diets, doing extreme workouts, when in reality, if you just did a few of these things before bed, you're gonna burn a ton of belly fat. The goal is to achieve enough deep delta sleep. During delta sleep, your body ramps up fat burning production. And I'm gonna share with you 5 simple things to do before bed to get deep delta sleep. The first step here in your protocol is to have banana tea at night before bed. What is banana tea? Banana tea is like nature's NyQuil. It turns out that the peel of the banana has more micronutrients, magnesium, potassium, and other really important micronutrients that help you feel relaxed than the actual banana itself. Now, what you're gonna do is grab a whole organic banana. You're going to leave the peel on the banana, but cut off the ends, and then you're gonna put that banana into a pot of water. Maybe put 2 cups of water and boil it. You wanna boil that water for about 4 minutes until the peel starts to turn brown a little bit. At that point, what you're gonna do is turn off the stove and pour that water, not the banana, but just the banana tea, the water, into a cup. You're going to sip that at night. What that's gonna do, it's going to help your body get into a relaxed parasympathetic state to prepare you for good, amazing, fat-burning delta sleep. If you're somebody like me who has a lot of racing thoughts at night, it also helps calm the brain as well. So your first step is to make that banana tea, drink it every night. The second step here is no food at least 3 hours before bed. The closer you eat to bed, the less deep fat-burning sleep you'll get, and the more inflammation you'll cause in your body. This is one of the biggest fat loss mistakes people make. They eat too close to bedtime. When you consume energy, food, before bed, but then you're not active to use that energy, your body starts storing that as fat, and it actually causes more belly fat to pack on your body. Another thing that happens here is when you eat before bed, it raises your core body temperature. And that is not good if you want to get deep delta sleep. Your body temperature actually needs to drop in order to achieve that fat burning deep sleep. Another thing that happens when you eat before bed and then lie down, you're going to increase the acid that rises in your esophagus that could actually lead to acid reflux and other digestive issues. You probably have also noticed when you eat before bed, when you wake up the next morning, you're gonna feel more groggy, more fatigued, more hungry as well. Because when you eat before bed, you're not gonna get great sleep. And when you don't get great sleep the next morning, you're gonna have higher levels of the hunger hormone, ghrelin, which tells you to go eat more food, less levels of the satiety fat burning hormone, leptin, and you're gonna have higher levels of cortisol, which raises glucose and raises the fat storage hormone, insulin. This is a disaster if you're trying to burn belly fat. So the 3-hour rule works well here. If you give yourself at least 3 hours of digestion before you go to bed, it's gonna allow your body to lower its body temperature, finish the digestive process, and get into deep fat burning sleep. So if you go to bed at 11 p.m. each night, the kitchen should be closed by 8 p.m. That gives you 3 good hours. Now, if you really want to speed up fat loss, especially when it comes to belly fat, give yourself even more time of fasting before bed. There's also a special time between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. called money time sleep window. It's been said that 1 hour of sleep within that time frame, 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., is equivalent to 2 hours of sleep outside of that window as it pertains to this deep delta fat burning sleep that we want to achieve. So if you can get to bed by 10 p.m. with at least no food for 3 hours before that, you're really going to tap into belly fat. The third step here in your protocol is to take this really important nutrient that is essential for deep fat burning sleep. This nutrient is responsible for over 300 enzymatic activities inside of your body, and most people are deficient in this nutrient. I'm referring to magnesium. Magnesium balances the stress in your life. Magnesium helps you achieve deep delta fat burning sleep. Magnesium helps you wake up feeling restored and refreshed from your sleep. But it has to be the right kind of magnesium. A lot of the magnesium out there just doesn't do the trick, and there's different types of magnesium: glycinate, threonate, orotate. I like using a magnesium that has 7 different spectrums, different types of magnesium, to get all the benefits of each of them. I personally use the one from Bioptimizers called Magnesium Breakthrough, and I'll drop a link and a coupon code for them down below. The goal is to consume about 400 to 600 milligrams of a high quality magnesium right before bed. So if it's the Bioptimizers Mag Breakthrough, you would just take 2 capsules before bed. That will help you increase that deep delta sleep that we want to hit. The fourth step here in your protocol is to make sure your bedroom is cold and dark. As I mentioned, in order to enter that deep fat burning delta sleep, your body temperature needs to drop. So studies suggest that if you change your thermostat to adjust it to anywhere between 62 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit, that's where you're going to achieve the most deep delta fat burning sleep. And the reason I say a dark bedroom is because artificial light is a factor here as well. When you have artificial light in your bedroom from light bulbs or the alarm clock or your cell phone or computer, it's actually going to prevent you from getting good restorative fat burning sleep. So what you want to do is make your room as dark as possible, turn it into a sleep cave. That's going to really maximize your body's ability to enter that delta sleep at night. And the fifth step here in your protocol is to wear a sleep mask and to do mouth taping. Okay, let's unpack those real quick. Now, we just discussed the importance of mitigating light exposure, and the sleep mask will for sure prevent light from going into your eyes. But the reason I recommend the sleep mask is actually for a different reason. What happens is this: when you put a sleep mask on your face and you have a light pressure to your eyes and to your face from the sleep mask, it actually activates your parasympathetic nervous system. And that is the part of your nervous system branch that helps you feel relaxed, it helps you detoxify, and it helps you get ready for a nice night of deep sleep. The light pressure from the sleep mask signals to your body that you're safe and protected, and it allows you to achieve this amazing process. So I personally use the one from Bon Charge called the Manta Sleep Mask. You can see I have it on here. Maybe I should have done the whole video like this. And this is the one I use. It's really comfortable. I even take it with me when I travel, and I'll drop a link for this sleep mask down below. But really, any really good sleep mask will achieve that result for you. And the next thing I mentioned is to mouth tape. I know it sounds weird and it looks pretty weird. My fiance makes fun of me all the time. But when you are breathing through your mouth at night, which most people do, that actually prevents you from getting good deep sleep, and it lowers levels of a molecule, a really important molecule in your body called nitric oxide. The goal is to breathe through your nose. And for some of you, you could easily just consciously tell yourself, breathe through your nose at night, and you could achieve that. But for most of you, like me, I actually have to have a stimulus, like a mouth tape, to put over my mouth, which will force me to breathe through my nose. So I use this adhesive here. It's a mouth tape from Somnifix, and I simply, right before bed, I put on the sleep mask, and then I put on this piece of mouth tape. So it's really simple. I just peel this off and put this over my mouth, just like this. And when I wake up, I take it off. And this forces me to breathe through my nostrils, which helps me get more delta sleep and helps my body produce more nitric oxide, which helps lower blood pressure and lower inflammation. It might feel weird at first, and you might feel a little claustrophobic, so maybe just do it for like 30 minutes the first night, take it off, and then kind of increase from there. You could get your hands on the one I use, Somnifix, by clicking the link in the notes down below. And here's a bonus tip for you here. Don't guess, test. I mean, you could implement what I'm gonna share here and it's gonna work, but how can you gauge how much delta deep sleep you're getting? And let's unpack that, because I've been mentioning delta deep sleep and you're wondering, like, what the heck does that even mean? Well, your body essentially has 3 different sleep cycles at night that you go through. You have light sleep, which is not, I mean, there's some benefits, but not tremendous amount of benefits. Then there's REM sleep, REM. REM stands for rapid eye movement. This is the part of sleep that happens during the second half of sleep that helps with memory. It helps to process short-term memory for long-term memory. But the third sleep cycle, as it pertains to what you want to achieve, burning belly fat, is deep delta sleep. This is where you want to really get enough deep delta sleep where your body activates those fat-burning hormones, you tap into visceral belly fat, and you wake up feeling refreshed. Deep delta sleep, the goal here is to get 90 minutes, an hour and a half at the minimum of deep delta sleep. And I can tell you this, I track my deep delta sleep every single night, religiously. And following the tips I just shared with you, I've been able to increase my deep delta sleep to over 2 hours every night. And that's how I've been able to stay lean, burn fat, wake up feeling refreshed. So there's different ways to test your sleep. I personally use this ring called the Oura Ring, which tracks all the stages of sleep, total sleep as well, calories, steps, and other metrics like heart rate variability. I love it. I've been using mine for almost 6 years now, and I'll drop a link for you to get an Oura Ring down below. But then there's also Fitbits and Apple Watches and Whoop bands. So just get a metric, use that as the gauge, implement the tips, and you could see how your deep sleep improves and how the belly fat melts off, and it'll happen the first night you follow these tips. If you enjoyed this video, you're gonna love a recent video I just published on 3 easy ways to burn stubborn fat in less than a week. And this works so well and so easy, you're gonna get results in the next few days, in less than a week. The best part, it's not restrictive, you're not relying on willpower, you don't have to count a single calorie, and you're not even going to cut calories because we're gonna focus on something else.